Hello everyone, this is Balkrishna and today we'll understand one important question and how to answer for that question. So here the question is tell me about your final year project. Okay. So most of the freshers when they are facing their first interview, right? So this question appears, interview will ask you like what was your final project and tell me about your final project. Okay. So we'll see in this video how we can structurally answer about these questions. Okay. So first, if you see why interviewers ask about your project. Okay. The question is why interviewer ask about your project. So they are checking your communication clarity first. Okay. So you can explain your project. Okay. In with the clarity, and then they will check your specified role. What was your role? Okay. What was your contribution in your project? Okay, that you need to explain. Okay. And then skills and growth. Okay. So by doing this project, like what skills you gain. Okay. And also what you learn throughout this experience after completing this project. Okay. So they are checking these three things: your communication clarity, then your role, and your skills and growth section. Okay. So now moving toward the next, what is the formula we are going to use to answer this question? We need to collect these complete things, right? Like how we can structurally answer this question, that is important. Okay. So first step is the project overview. Okay, we'll explain first our project overview. What was the function of the project? Then what was the problem we identified? And then after identifying the problem, like what was the role and approach? Like which steps we followed to resolve that problem using the project, right? And then results and outcome. So what we achieved. Okay. How we resolve that problem. First we identified the problem, then we took some steps. Okay, we made some plan to resolve that problems, and then what was the outcome at the end of the our project. Okay. And then key learnings. Okay. So this structural approach we are going to use to answer these questions. Okay. So in the project overview, if you see the example. Okay. So example of opening, like if you see here, my final year project was an design and analysis of an automotive suspension system. Okay. So this is my project title. So that project title also I am going to add in my CV. Okay. So this is your opening, right? As a fresher, I'll answer that my final year project was on design and analysis of automotive suspension system. Okay. So you can replace here with the same, whatever your project, right? Your project was having a different name, right? Different topic. So you can add here, what was your project, final year project. So you can simply answer that my final year project was this, or that is topic or name you can add here. Okay. So here the main goal was to design a low cost suspension system for better comfort and stability of the passenger cars. Okay. So here first we are explaining our topic, name, and then we are explaining our goal. Okay. What is our goal? Why we are doing this project? Okay. So our main goal was to design a low cost suspension for better comfort. That is our main goal to do this project. Now next is the step 2. So in the step 2, if you see problem and objective. Okay. So here what we are going to do, that we are going to defining the problem, right? So here what we are going to define, that we are going to start describing the what issue you observed. So issue was, we observed that in the low cost vehicles, ride comfort is often compromised due to basic suspension design. Okay. So if you are going to design the low cost vehicle, any vehicle. Okay. So we identified that there is a ride comfort, discomfort due to the low cost suspension design. So then our objective, next you need to state your objective, that our objective was to optimize the suspension parameters to improve the comfort without increasing the cost too much. Okay, so first we are explaining here what is our observation. Okay, so we observe there is a ride discomfort due to the low suspension design in low cost vehicle. Then what was our objective? So our objective was to optimize the suspension parameters to improve the ride comfort. Okay, without increasing the cost too much, right? So first we identified the problem, defined the problem, and then we are explaining the objective. Okay, then in the next step, in the step 3, we are going to clarify our role and technical approach. Okay, so what was my main role, right? So here I am explaining that my main role was to focus the design and simulation of the suspension system. So what process I followed, right? So first I collected the data. Here you can see the data collection is the first step. So in the data collection, I gathered the foundation parameters like vehicle weight required, right? Spring stiffness required. We need to do the benchmarking of different suspensions, right? That I did, right? And then damping coefficients also we study, right? And then next step I followed that we created the CAD model. Okay. So I model the suspension geometry in CATIA or SolidWorks, whatever software you are using. And then we did the analysis, right? Using the analysis tool with the calculation. So we evaluated stress distribution and deformation under the load. And then at the end, in the fourth step, in the optimization step, I compared the spring dampers configuration to identify the optimal design balance. Okay. So this is my role, right? My contribution in the project that I that we collected as I collected the data, then I designed the complete suspension, okay, using the software. Then I analyzed the suspension, and then finally we optimized, right, to optimal design balance. Means here I am checking, right, I am comparing like how much displacement of the suspension we are reducing, right? So this was my role. Okay. So in this step 3, we are explaining our role, right? In project, whatever your role, you need to explain. Then in the 4th step, results we need to explain. Results or outcome. Okay. So here you can see in the result, the displacement reduction was maximum displacement decrease with versus initial design. Okay. So initially there was a more displacement, so we reduced displacement by 18 to 20%. Okay, so we improved, right, our design, and then we evaluated it with the 100% simulation. Okay, so here you can see performance targets made in testing environment. Okay, so in the 4th step we need to highlight the results. Okay, how we reduce the displacement. Okay, and then simulation. After that we validated that with the simulation. So if I collect this all the 5 steps, so my final answer structural way will be like this, that my final year project was design and development or design and analysis of the automotive suspension system. That is my title for passenger car. And then the goal was to design cost effective suspension system that improves ride comfort, right? That is the first thing. Then next is that we focus on reducing the vibration that are usually felt in budget cars. Okay. Then my main role was to design and simulation work. My role was to design and development completely. Design and simulation, sorry. And then what I did, I collected the required vehicle data. Okay. Benchmarking I did. then created the 3D suspension model in CATIA or SolidWorks, whatever software we are using, and then I perform basic analytics and simulation based on the evaluation of stress, deflection and natural frequency. Okay, and then I compared this design with the different spring and damper combinations to find the best performing setup. Okay, so whatever the ride comfort there, right? So I compared my design with the old design, and then I found out that we showed around 80% reduction in vehicle displacement, which means the better comfort and stability. Okay, and then from this project you need to tell them that I gained practical skills in 3D modeling of basic FEA, result interpretation and structural documentation, and it also strengthened my teamwork, problem solving abilities and increased my interest in automotive product design. Okay, so this is a simple final answer you can give. You can replace your project name here, then goal you can modify according to that. Then you need to explain your role. Okay, either it will be design, either it will be support, either it will be production, whatever, assembly, you can display replace here. Then explain the role. Okay, then outcome you need to explain, right? What was your outcome in the project, okay, after implementing this project, right? And then you can explain what you gain from this project, what skills or growth, right? So that you can explain, like 3D modeling you improved, then result interpretation how to do, okay, then documentation of the project, right, how to do. Then you strengthen your teamwork, you are working with the team for this project. Then problem solving about abilities, okay, that also you can, what's the problem and you resolve it, that, right? And then you increase your interest in automotive product design, okay, or automotive design. So this is your structural final answer. You can properly collect and properly answer that. Tell me about your final year project.